Today, we're going to be jumping into some spicy topics. Controversy is going to hit the YouTubes today because we're going to be jumping into why Leo Fender's greatest contribution might not have been the P-bass.
What?
No. It might not have been the jazz bass.
What?
And instead, it might have been the StingRay.
Hey, if you are intrigued by the sound of a StingRay, you're in luck. You can win this actual bass. Music Man StingRay in special edition, charging green, roasted maple neck, gorgeous instrument. Just go to winabassbuildaschool.com to sign up. It's absolutely free.
There's such an interesting story underlying here, and you need to understand the history of the P-bass, history of the jazz bass, to understand how we get here. So, quickly, 1951, the P-bass was birthed to the world.
Yes.
Right? Who designed it?
Leo Fender.
And then a few years later, 1959?
Or 60, jazz bass?
Oh, 1960. This was birthed to the world.
That's right.
Who designed this?
Leo Fender.
And then in 1965, if this hadn't happened in 1965, no StingRay.
Because
right?
Leo sells Fender
Yeah.
to CBS. He signs a 10-year do not compete.
He's out.
And he's out of the game.
Yeah, and what happens to Fender? After CBS buys, the quality starts going, down, because CBS, they're really focusing on profit over quality. A bunch of the key staff start leaving. And then the sort of like late 60s, the early 70s especially, bit shaky for Fender.
Right.
But what's going on behind the scenes? Because Leo's he can't do anything.
Leo's out.
Leo's out. 10-year non-compete. He can't do anything until 1975. But something's happening behind the scenes. 1971, a company called Music Man is founded by 3 individuals. Forrest White, head of production at Fender.
Right.
Tom Walker, head of sales at Fender. And a third silent partner.
Who could that have been?
Who could it have been? Could it have been Leo Fender?
Like the puppet master?
The puppet master behind the scenes, you know? It was, yeah. So Leo was the third silent partner of Music Man. But they can't do anything because he's tied into the non-compete until 1975. So isn't it really strange that in 1976 is when the StingRay was born?
Yes. And I mean, I can just imagine
Wild.
Leo in the lab, right? Just like,
Ultimate power!
Yes. Just cooking up this recipe.
Yeah.
Because it's so considered.
And it was Leo's attempt of taking the P-bass, and there are familiarities, right? One pickup. 4 strings?
4 strings, right.
Okay? But it was Leo's attempt of kind of upgrading where it all started, which was the P-bass. And the design was a collaboration between Tom Walker, Leo Fender,
Right.
and
Sterling Ball,
son of
Ernie Ball,
the string maker.
Right.
Okay, so those 3 got together, they designed this, and then Sterling Ball was a bass player. So he was taking it out, testing it in live situations.
Like gig testing it. Let's go to the tape and let's see some legends, some bass legends really put the StingRay through its paces.
Thunder Thumbs is up first. Louis Johnson, you might have heard him on a few Michael Jackson hits, but here he is from an old school lesson that I absolutely love, and when you watch it, you'll understand immediately why his nickname was Thunder Thumbs.
Hey! It's just crazy.
I would not like to be his bass. Like what? In terms of his tone, for me, obviously all of that sizzle on the top end.
Right? I mean, I don't know that this is true, but I feel like Louis Johnson is taking all the knobs, cranking them up, and then just playing hard, you know? And you can hear all this bleed in this video into his speaking mic, and it's just so much top end, which was really absent from Fenders, right?
Completely different.
Yes.
Completely different. And you know, like they do have great slap sounds. It's something actually they're really known for.
Yeah.
And you're going to see various examples of this. Like that's an older example. You're going to see some really new examples of legends in the space slapping the heck out of these things. But also the fingerstyle tone is incredible. And it's such a signature part of people's sound. The number one person that jumps to mind for me is Bernard Edwards.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, check this out. flat wounds.
Flats, that's right.
Flats on the StingRay. Now, you know, if you guys want to, you know, dig deep and send us another StingRay, we might put some flats on it for you. But right now, you get to put with rounds, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, signature sound.
Yeah, and to kind of get that, I mean, you know, taking bass, maybe dialing it back a touch. I feel like Bernard's sound is a little less modern, right?
Yeah, it's like actually quite old school, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe he wasn't cranking his EQ all the way. So what I do to try to get that in the ballpark, drop bass a touch and really push treble back, maybe about halfway.
Yeah.
So you're not hearing all that sizzle, right?
Yeah.
We got to move into someone who is, of course, super inspired by Bernard Edwards.
Somebody that needs a lot more recognition,
Yes,
actually.
yeah, man. John Deacon from Queen. We got him playing Another One Bites the Dust on a gorgeous early StingRay. Kills me that he put that thumb rest on it, though, dude.
Oh, do you know, I was just looking at Freddie's shorts.
Yes.
You're looking at the thumb rest. Have you checked out them shorts?
Okay, so tonally we have these examples, right, of the bright Louis Johnson Thunder Thumb thing on a StingRay, and then we have sort of more like pulled back old school examples, John Deacon, of course, Bernard Edwards.
Yeah.
But we also have you talking to Gail Ann Dorsey, who was David Bowie's bass player for years and years, talking about tone and the eras, right, where she used to have it really bright.
What she used to do,
Yes.
and now what she does, the different approach on the bass.
Dude, and I remember watching this, being so inspired, and it made me want to like go buy a StingRay.
A lot of things in the 80s I played with a pick. I don't have one with me, or a plectrum. So it would be that real.
That's a cool sound too, man.
Especially with a pick. Plectrum.
Plectrum. I love how she said that for you.
Yeah, for me.
She did for you.
But now, instantly when I pick up any bass, treble completely off.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit of mid. Maybe just if I needed to bite a little bit, and full on bass.
Yeah.
How do you get rid of the treble from a StingRay?
I mean, you just turn the treble knob down, right? But Gail's got that cool, like, bright pick thing that she was talking about in the 80s. And check it out. If you just take that treble knob and turn it all the way off. So she talked about bass all the way up, treble all the way off. It's a completely different bass.
Oh, wow.
Playing with fingers.
Yeah. I've been sleeping on the StingRay.
It's cool, man. It's really cool.
Why should somebody even consider this over that?
Well, yeah.
Let's start with the headstock.
Okay, Leo was trying to do improvements, right?
Yeah.
So he was trying to make a better Fender.
An improvement?
Oh, is it even possible? Right. So he had this idea to do a 3-in-1 headstock because he thought this might eliminate dead spots. I'm not sure if it did, but that was the idea.
That was the
right?
idea, yeah.
Obviously, same scale length, and we come down. But really, the big improvement in his mind was to make a giant humbucker.
Massive.
Massive.
Look at the size of the thing.
Yeah, huge pull pieces, magnets, all this wire.
Yeah.
Move it back by the bridge, right? So that it's a bigger, kind of almost like a meaner
Yeah, because
jazz
look,
bass.
if you hold these next to each other so people can see, he's gone like further back towards the bridge. He's taken it, pushed it right down here, and it's just ginormous.
Right. Bring it all the way back and then connect it to a 2-band preamp. So the original preamps were volume, then treble and bass, but it was a boost instead of a passive tone
Boost
cut.
only.
Yeah. Boost only, right? So you got this monster amount of range of boosting low end and high end, and then he put a battery in the back, making this actually the first mass-produced active bass. Companies like Alembic were around, but you had to power that with some weird cable.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And it made this amazing range of sound. So like even if we just hear the treble control, if I turn that off, okay, sounds sort of like a vintage bass. But when you turn this treble control up, right, you hear all that like that sizzle.
It's so modern. It's so modern.
Right.
Yeah.
And it became...
In 1976.
Yes.
What?
And it paved the way.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the modern active bass sound.
Yeah, isn't it wild that they actually gunked up the circuits inside so people couldn't reverse engineer it?
Yeah.
They thought somebody was like going to be like, whoa.
Yes.
So they just,
They epoxied it. Those are really sought after, the epoxy pre, 76 and 77 models.
Yeah, and something else that's different as well is the bridge. It's like, for me, I love the look, the engineering of it, completely different. Like it's a step up, right?
Yeah.
It's much more complex, it's high mass. And also, if you look really carefully, they did have these mutes under the strings as well, which I think is cool because it's that hat tip to the old school vibes.
Absolutely.
The first P basses.
Yeah, for sure. They also brought back a really cool old school Fender thing, which was stringing through the body.
Yeah.
Which was on those original 51 P basses.
Yeah. The originals only had a 3.
Oh, that's right.
They had a 3-bolt neck. Obviously, this is a reissue, right?
Yeah,
so this has got the 6-bolt because it's a lot more meaty in terms of the neck joint, but the originals did have those 3.
Next up, one of my favorite bass players, Mr. Tony Levin, who's a total rule breaker with a StingRay. He's playing it with a pick. He's playing octave pedal.
Fretless.
He's playing a fretless, that's right, chorus on it. And of course, it's one of my favorite bass lines. I feel like it might be one of yours too.
It's one of mine.
Yeah, man, Sledgehammer.
Keep on going, dude. So good. Now that was obviously originally played on a fretless.
Yes.
But it might not have been the most famous fretless bass line played on a StingRay.
I see what you're doing here, and I like it.
Pino Palladino, Paul Young.
He's so exposed in this.
Yeah.
And it's great.
So check out, this is Pino talking about that line and how he actually came up with it.
I had when they suggested something for the intro, and I just had an idea to play this melody, which was
And that is the bass.
Oh, he sounds so
when you get
good.
to this.
It's the sound of that song.
Well, that's actually Stravinsky, so we'd have to give credit to Stravinsky on that bit. That's one of his melodies. Just left the studio and wondered if I would hear that on the album, or in fact, if it would make it on the album, because you never know.
What do you think he's got going on with the tone?
I mean, it feels like back in the day, it was a little brighter. And then when he was demoing it there, he had it really dialed back. And it was really like chocolatey and...
Which plays exactly what Gail Ann Dorsey was saying.
Yes.
In the 80s, it was all treble.
Right,
And now she's
crank
like,
it.
I'm dialing it back down.
It's just that treble control. So if it's high, it sounds really bright, right?
Yeah.
But if you dial it back, or even all the way off...
It's crazy that it sounds like you've turned the tone down.
Yeah. Well, it kind of is, right? I mean, it's a...
But it's, you know what I'm pulling at? That thread I'm putting, it's like there's no tone control in it, but it's got that same vibe.
Yeah, it kind of takes us back to Leo's first design, right? Yes.
So good. Can you remember the first time you watched this?
Oh, absolutely, man.
I had no idea what that effect was either. I was like,
Right.
what is he doing to the bass? But, oh.
Envelope filter, I believe it's like an old DOD.
Yeah. When it comes to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, for me, I know that he recorded using the wall bass and blah.
Right.
But for me, when I think like if aliens came down and said, what's the essence, the true essence of the Red Hot Chili Peppers bass sound?
Yes.
I would say a StingRay.
It's a StingRay. I feel that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Flea's got that cool, filter thing. And the cool thing is, if you feed a filter this giant EQ section, right, a bunch of bass, and that big monster blast of treble, it's so fun into a filter.
Leo did it again. He took a one pickup instrument and made it super versatile.
Yeah.
We've talked about that with the P-bass. Same thing here.
Yeah.
You know, we heard Bernard Edwards, we heard Louis Johnson, all the way through to Flea.
Yes.
But you know what we haven't heard?
What?
We haven't heard it in like a real rock context. And that is where, and I just want to use Flea as a bouncing off point here, because I think Tim Commerford of Rage Against the Machine was really influenced by Flea. And you know what bass that Tim uses?
I sure do.
It's the StingRay.
It goes back to when I was a kid, and I literally was like 18 years old when I saw a Music Man StingRay, and it was a blonde StingRay with a black pick guard.
I love the blondes.
It was at a pawn shop, and it was $300. And I wanted it so bad, and I like scraped up the money, and I got it. That bass became the bass that I used to record the first Rage record, and it was a big part of my life.
It's the Rage sound, right?
Yes. So dirtier there, right? Than on the first record. It was so clean.
Yeah.
On the first record.
What do you think
right?
he was doing with his tone on the first record?
I mean, you know, again, it's pretty irresistible, right? To just take a StingRay. I mean, I'm gonna drop down to D.
Oh
this,
yeah,
right?
because that bass sound, it's in D.
Yeah. On the record, it's like
Super clean.
very clean.
Bass and treble boosted, correct?
I think so. I think they're cranked.
It is today.
Yeah, I mean, if you turn them down, right, it's this.
It's sad.
It's sad, it's not the vibe, right? So cranking them up, I mean, it's pretty irresistible. But I feel like now or later, Tim got into like grindier amps and distortion. When I hear him do this, I feel like it's more like, you know, or maybe a slightly cleaner. But he has that like mean amp thing, but you still hear the StingRay treble like slicing through it, triggering all that gain from the distortion. It's cool.
It's incredible. And another great player that has really made the StingRay part of his, you know, part of the essence of his sound is Joe Dart.
Oh.
I'm going to play you this clip right now, and when you're listening to it, I just want you to think about how it goes all the way back to the start of the video. Bernard Edwards' sound, it's so similar, and
Yes.
it's so great to see somebody like Joe Dart getting that sound from all those years ago and then bringing it to modern day with Wolfpack.
Oh, the head.
Oh,
Yeah, but hang on, dude. Wait.
don't.
What?
Don't. Don't. Look! Don't! And don't you eat. I know there's somebody about to hit them comments. It's not a StingRay. It is a StingRay. It is. I'm just saying it out loud. I'm proud that that bass that Joe Dart uses is a StingRay in a frickin' shell suit. And if you do not agree, I'm gonna send Gav around your house. Right there. I'm gonna send Gav around your house, and I'm not sure what he's gonna do, but he's gonna make you agree with me.
Gav. Gav is lovely. You'll have a really nice time.
Now show us how to play it.
I will, but I gotta say, man, he doesn't have an active EQ. It's like a passive StingRay. Look, I agree with you. It is, in essence, a StingRay in a shell suit.
Yes.
Yes, I don't want to meet Gav in a dark alley.
Or maybe a StingRay minus a shell suit. I don't know. It's a naked StingRay. Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's passive. It has one knob. That's very cool. So look, you know, if you don't have Joe Dart's bass, what you can do to try to kind of get close to that is actually back off on the EQ. We've been doing so much cranking this thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you back off, the volume comes down, right? So you do sort of have to adjust for that. So maybe I'll turn up the volume a little bit. There's a little bit of mid-range, more mid-range in Joe's sound.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a little bit of these knobs here. But see, right, it's not bright, it's not a ton of bottom. There's just sort of a mid-range to his sound that cuts through.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and if it had flats on it, it'd be way closer.
I agree.
Obviously.
I agree.
Yeah.
But if you want to do that kind of thing, take your StingRay knobs, drop them down, maybe turn them up a little, and then just bring up your amp, bring up your preamp, and you'll get closer to that sort of like old school mid-rangey sound.
And hey, if you want to grab the workbook we put together for you with the tab and notation for some of these bass lines that you've been hearing today, all you need to do is click that link in the description. and we will be there for you.
Okay, so how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Oh, you mean about the basses? Oh,
Well, I
don't
mean,
know. How are you guys feeling?
We pose the question, right? Is this the greatest Leo Fender design? Has this been convincing? Do you feel like you need to go get a StingRay? Do you feel like this eclipses the P bass? The jazz bass? Let us know in the comments how you feel about this topic. And please give us a story about your first experience with a StingRay.
Yeah.
If you love it, you hate it. We want to know. We go through, we read this stuff. We would love to know how you feel about this instrument.
Go for it. We'll see you next time.